You can't go wrong with another live. Am I right? Hello, everybody. Welcome. What's going on? How's life? How's existence? Today is Sunday. Is it Sunday today? I think it is Sunday. I think we made it to Sunday finally, which is good news. Because that means we get to do more writing on the. What are we doing? Oh, we're doing the sci-fi. The sci-fi. We're writing in real time. We're writing in time. What is up? Hello, the amazing Yoshi. Welcome. As always, this is all about trying to get everybody on the same page. No pun intended. But as you can see, we are. Boom. Oh, what we got? Ooh, howdy! I actually made it to. Yeah, welcome. Booyah! Yo, what's up? Yeah, we're all here today. We got a nice little poll going on. Not that it's severely important, the poll, but it's just fun to have a little interaction, right? Today we are going to be continuing our journey with the sci-fi novel that has to do with Laura Olivia. If anyone's new to what's going on today, I'm writing a book in real time, showing the process, explaining the process of how I go about writing a book. I'm talking through and working through it. And absolutely, without a doubt, you can ask as many questions as you want, either about my process, what I am doing, the story in general, or you could ask questions about your own book. And feel free to know that I will happily answer those questions as best as I can. I am a developmental editor, writing teacher, and all these other lovely little things. With that said, as you can see, the last couple weeks we've been doing what I call the extended outline / zero draft, but we're doing the extended outline part first, and then we will work on the zero draft, and we've done 2 chapters so far, so that's pretty exciting. What we got here? I typed the wrong thingamajig. You were further down on the laptop. Yeah, I hide a lot. I'm always hiding, Flowers. I'm always like, oh, what's going on? Because my beard controls me mostly, but you made it. We got you here, and that's the important part. Some updates of what's going on, just for anybody who's new on the video. The goal is to write this book in 27 chapters. Obviously, I have more chapters opportunities here, but the goal is to take what we did and use the 27 plot point outline and write 27 chapters to those plot points. However, remember, great writing is allowing yourself to be malleable and adjust as needed. Yes, it was the beard's fault. It's always the beard's fault. Let's be honest with ourselves. The beard has a mind of its own, Speaking of, I got to feed the beard what we call, oh yeah, I hope you heard that, the Diet Cherry Pepsi. Or it gets upset. All right. Let's do it. We got a little itch to the ear taken care of. Now we're going to move on to let's make things happen. So today we got to work on chapter 3. But before we do, to all my Italiano friends out there, salve, buongiorno. And to anyone who is not of Italian, hello. I only do that because I recently relearning my Italian. I want to try to get back to being fluent. All right. As you can see, plot point 1 had a lot of information in there. We took care of that. Plot point 2, the inciting incident, we took care of that. We are on the reaction to the inciting incident. So let's take this information and bring it into here so we can start filling it in and cleaning it up. The reaction to the inciting incident, for anyone who doesn't know, and I'm sure you do know, because we talk about it a lot here, right? The reaction to the inciting incident could be many, many things. Usually, though, it is a direct reaction to something. So you would show the results of whatever the inciting is. So the inciting incident would happen, and they'd be going through whatever they got. And then once the inciting incident sort of wraps up, this is where we get to sit in with the characters and what they're dealing with. In the case of Laura Olivia here, the inciting incident is that her ship gets hijacked while she's stocking up to do another transporting gig. They force her to take off the planet because it's sci-fi. and the authorities shoot her ship before she escapes. So, what is the reaction to the inciting incident? Well, for us, it's going to be a direct response to that. We have to show her ship damage, which is one of the plot points. We have to deal with the hyperspace reality of it. And of course, the love interest helps Lord. So they got to fix the ship, right? You got to fix the ship. Right. Yeah. Boop. Okay. So this is going to be about fixing the ship. Let's get it in there. Let's get working on there. What do we got so far? We got 4 votes. We got 3 yeses and 1 no for the writing. By the way, before I get started, let's talk about writing real quick. Uh, I've been doing this series. This is a 7, right? Is this 7, 8? What is this? I don't know. Number 7, 8, episode 8. And I've been doing 1 hour, basically 1 hour. And where is it? If we look at the process here, by the way, it took us maybe a day, it took us an hour and a half to do some brainstorming. It took me 2 hours to do the character arcs. It took me another 2 hours to do the short form, maybe 2.5 hours to do short form. And now we're working on, this will be my second hour working on or my third hour working on the extended. That math is probably terribly off. But my point is, I don't work on this outside of this Sunday shindig, this get together. And I guess I'm saying it because I want to motivate and inspire other writers to realize that once a week gets a lot of work done. I mean, we're already into chapter 3. We're already working on the extended outline part of the 4th step. Imagine you worked an hour 2, maybe 3 times a week. You know what I'm saying? Like 1 hour of work really, it does so much. It doesn't seem like a lot of time, especially if you kind of carve it out. But even if you did an hour a week, I would feel like that's enough for somebody who has a full-time job and somebody's doing whatever they got to do and they're living in life. Because we are, in my opinion, we're flying through this 1 day a week for 1 hour, and we're just kind of casually going through this. So I'm just saying, sometimes we psych ourselves out. We're like, I got to write a chapter. I got to wear. It's like you don't have to write the chapter. You just have to write. And if you write 2 pages, or that'll be about 500 to 1,000 words. What was that? 700 words. That's more than enough. Yeah, but I didn't finish a chapter, and I wanted to really finish a chapter. Don't think about that. Think about writing in blocks. Like if you could write an hour every day, or every other day, or every 3 days, that's more doable than going and putting that stress on you to be like, I need to do a full chapter. I'm gonna do this whole thing, right? Because you can do an hour, but it's hard to do a chapter. But maybe it takes you 2 or 3 hours to get that chapter done. But the point is, those hours are easier. Those hours are easier to get through than it is to try to sit there and push back on the brain and overwhelm yourself with the idea like, I have to do this, I got to edit, I got to, right? When I'm doing my own stuff, I only do anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. That's my block, is a 2-hour block. And I don't even do writing the full time. I'll do some editing. Maybe I'll do some reading, read throughs. Maybe I'll take some notes, whatever the case may be. But my point is, an hour. All right, let's do this. This is where we learn a little bit about the situation. The ship is damaged, but they are far from a planet and have to figure out. All right, let's do this. Okay. They are currently still in the hyperspace movement. The environment is flying around them, and they can't just stop where they are and must wait until the device brings them to the travel point. And I'm going to put a note here for myself. This is only because they used the device and the ship doesn't have hyperspace travel capabilities on its its own. If it did, it would be able to stop mid hyperspace travel. That's just something for me to know because we got to maybe have that discussion within the book. We don't know. I don't know. What we got here? Oh, we got something. Oh, I set a low target of 300 words a day. I know I can write more, so I feel better that I reached my target and exceeded. That is also a really great way to approach it, especially if you you create something that's extremely doable. That's a page of work, 300 words, and then, or in some cases, that could just be like 2 passages. But to pop past that, that's a good motivator too. Thank you for that little insight there. Not little, that amazing insight. I wasn't trying to devalue the. I agree with your method. That is a wonderful method. Wonderful method. Thank you for that, Flower. All right. Okay. So one thing I want to do is, well, in hyperspace, the ship's emergency alarms go off because the ship is damaged. All right. By the way, I can't spell, so sometimes I have to do this to make you see. Oh, if it did, sometimes I also have big fingers. Gets very annoying. If you're just popping in and you don't know what's going on, I'm writing a book from scratch and I'm letting you see the process. I'm walking through it, talking through it. This is a learning experience for everybody. If you have questions about what I am doing, if I don't explain anything in a way that makes sense to you, please ask questions. If you have questions about your own book, your own writing, this is the time to feel free to do it. It does not disturb me. In fact, I'm here for it. This is the whole point of doing these Saturday, Sundays. But right now, we are working on what's known as the extended outline. We're taking our, basically, for anyone, we took the short form outlining, and now we are working on the first part of step 4. So this is what it looks like to do the short form outlining, and now we are working on extending those beats into story beats within the chapter itself. Okay. So, well, the ship's emergency alarms go off because the ship is damaged. I should do this as a note. It can stay moving because the hyperspace space device is what's pulling it through space itself. All right. Okay. I would say Laura Olivia says that if when they watch, we're going to create. This is called creating the timer, right? So to create like natural tension, you just set a timer. Like if we don't do X by X time, right? Or the bomb is set, right? It's the Alfred Hitchcock tension setter. So says that if they don't fix the ship by the time they reach their destination, they'll be stuck in space floating, which means they'll have limited time before they have no oxygen, etc., etc. All right. All right. Okay. Why is he putting orange around? I do this because for some reason, the red line doesn't show up when I use Google Docs, and whatever. All right. Okay. So that means now, not only do they have to fix the issue before the ship stops, but they are also dealing. Laura is also dealing with the fact that these people are here. All right. So the ship is damaged on the planet, and they have to. Yeah, where these authorities might not be able to go, right? Okay. They need to patch the hole. All right. Before hyperspace stops. Okay, there we go. There we go. I like that. All right. So what is this? But I also, the ship is damaged. All right. Laura Olivia checks to see what planet they're heading toward. She says that she hit any button to get out of there. She was nervous. She's never been hijacked before. And it's a little humor moment. What? I'm nervous. I've never been hijacked before. Like, how am I supposed to know what to do? All right. The main gang member threatens her, and the love interest says, killing her will only kill us. Right now, she's the expert. We should listen to her. All right, so now we get to the next scene, which is ultimately fixing the hull. All right. Let's see. Laura Olivia is checking the hull, rushing around, getting items. No one is helping her yet. The gang is demanding she hurries up. She asks, she makes a comment that she's only one person. The love interest asks what he can do to help. All right, now we get some movement here, right? All right. The two of them begin the process of patching up the hull. Now, for anyone who's watching or you don't understand the process of like how I approach this, I start very broad. I try not to get extremely specific during the short form outlining or the extended outlining. For me, the extended outlining just takes the smaller, broad moments. For example, they have to fix the hull, right, of the ship. And for the extended outline, what I do is I take that and I try to create beats to that. So this is the beats of how it leads to them fixing the hull. I would have, but I'm not going to get like how they're doing it. I might not, I could, but to me, it's really more about just keeping the rhythm going and seeing how it kind of plays out. And obviously, every scene needs conflict. So if you notice, this scene has a conflict. The conflict is that the gang members like, if you don't hurry up, we're just gonna kill you. And she's like, kill me. If you kill me, you're gonna die yourselves. Like, and they're like, like, so there's a little thing. And she's like, there's a hull. That's the other thing, the other conflict. So there's multiple conflicts going on. They have to fix the hull. And then this is no one's helping. She's trying to do it herself. The love interest gets involved, but we're going to continue to keep the urgency up by allowing it to be where they fix a few spots. While doing so, they're having a conversation that shows their chemistry and connecting as people. Okay. So that's important too, right? All right. So, by the way, again, if anyone has any questions either about what I'm doing or if in some way or another this relates to your story, if you are using the 27 plot point outline and you're like, well, I don't really understand what this plot point is about, which is the protagonist reacts to the inciting incident, feel free to ask questions. I have no problem kind of digging deep into that. More importantly, if you are new here, the documents, not only for what I am working on, can be viewed And also, I have templates for a lot of things, from the plot points to other information that has to do with the videos on my channel. It's all free, no sign up for anything. You just go to the link and just click it. I guess for ease, I'll just do this since we're all here. Here, it's all about being accessible and helping. Yeah, so if you click that little bad boy, that should take you right to it. Yeah, there it is. Boom. And as you'll see, there's different kind of templates for stuff, from the organizing sheet, which is this thing, to the breakdown of what each plot point is, and et cetera, et cetera. And the Write With Me folder. That's feel free. All right. With that said, how's everyone doing today? Huh? How's everyone doing all right? All right, let's see. So the gang is there. The fix a little bit. The situation also feels like it's coming into a calm. This is the calm before the fall for this moment. All right, because we're gonna make it where it actually becomes something a little bit more. I also have another object of information I need to add here, which is going to be the love interest is hanging out and around the ship, asking questions about things. This is because they are going to leave one of the stolen things, all right, within the ship itself. All right. Because remember, later on, for anyone who's been watching the series, there is a moment where you realize that some of the stolen stuff is indeed still on the board. What do we got here? Five votes. Ooh, we got okay. All right, got some yeses, got some no's. All right. One of the gang members asks what the love interest. I got to come up with a name for this guy. Love interest is doing. He says checking for more holes in the hull. The hull. In the hull. Okay. But really, he's hiding something of what they stole. Right, okay. Right. If you're wondering, if you haven't watched the series, I put notes in red just so, like, while I'm going through it, those stand out, and I go, oh, what is this note about? Because if I'm scrolling up and down later on, or going through scenes and chapters, I might catch a note and be like, oh yeah, I have to add that to something. You know, it also helps me remember the motivations or what's really going on, because again, what you see, what you don't see, these are all part of it. All part of the game. All right. Laura Olivia calls the love interest over, saying that they have one more hole to patch up. All right. Okay. What's this? While patching it up, something pulls off, causing the environment. Whoa, iron. What's going on with my fingers? Environment controller. I'll come up with a better name for that. To pop offline, causing the hull to be filtered with pressure, and everyone's getting tossed around. Laura and the love interest are holding together and work hard to get the patch up. Okay. They need the help of other gang members. And we could do something really fun here. Oops. Okay. Actually, I would do this. Boop. One gang member dies during the situation, but they end up closing the hole. All right. Death. Because death is on the line. All right. Usually I try to kill characters off until they die from it. That's my mission. All right. So give this person a little more page time so they have a name and feel like they're important. All right. Why do I do that? Because I don't really like red shirts. Red shirts is a term you give to like Star Trek people who are just, even though in the next generation everyone's basically a red shirt. But the goal is to ultimately, I don't want people to just die and like be like, oh, that was an easy kill off, Anyway. So I like to, if I'm gonna kill somebody off, to have an impact, I know that I'm gonna have to add. So let's call a gang member. Let's say we'll call this person give gang member 3. All right. Let's go back up to 2. Well, they die. Now, as you can see, this is part of the process. I do a little work on each chapter, and as I come up with new ideas or I need to filter ideas in, I happily go back to earlier moments to, allow things to kind of play out. I am going to add a note here just because I want in the first scene beat for gang member 3 to have a little bit more time as well. Okay. I can actually now just do this. All right, before they die. All right, one gang member. Let's just do this. Die. Fatality. All right, here we go. Boom. All right, they fixed the ship. They were useless in the beginning. We did that. This ship has issues and finally pops out of hyperspace, and they have to stop the air. Okay. All right. So actually, that's a good note. So I'm going to use that as the final beat scene. Okay. So let's actually do this. Oh, what do we got here? Hannah Hart, what's up? I wrote yesterday. I can't write during the week, for I have a full-time job. I get up at 5 a.m. every morning, and when I get to work, I sit for a while, the clock in at the 7:23, and don't get off. Hey, I get it. Yeah, we were just talking about that earlier in the video, where it's like if you could do an hour a week, that's an amazing accomplishment. So just the fact that you wrote yesterday is wonderful. Me working on this whole thing, I do it once a week, 1 hour, once a week, and we're already this far in. I'm on the extended outline part of the process, and we're already chapter 3. I'm probably going to get to chapter 4. I'll be honest with you. All right, then I don't get home till either 4:30 or sometimes 4:45. Yeah, that's half the day, and then you got to get home. You got to eat. You got to maybe relax a little bit, watch a little bit of tube, and then by the time you're ready to go to, you sit down and write, it's like late. I get it. So that being able to write a little bit on the weekend, that's congratulations. I'm very excited for that. I'm very proud of you. That's an amazing accomplishment. Finding anytime is good time. All right, so oh yeah, let me just do this. All right. We did the issues. Okay. They finally pop out of hyperspace. All right. and have to stop the air environment within the ship from getting out. All right. All right, there we go. And then that's that whole thing. There we go. And look, we got 3 scenes again. I try, not that you always have to do 3 scenes. I'll be honest. I don't always have 3 scenes, but I do like to have a beginning, a middle, and end to every chapter. So when it comes to writing, the 27 plot point outline does have this kind of fluid movement to it. So you have Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. So that's a beginning, middle, and end. So we always want to set up stuff. We want to challenge that something, and then we want to resolve. But by at the end of the challenge, you want it to be on the fence. Will they, won't they succeed going into the resolution? But then when you look at each section, there are 9 sections to the 27 plot point outline. That's right. Each section of each act has every act has 3 sections. So each act has a beginning, middle, and end. And then each section has 3 plot points, beginning, a middle, and end. So if you look at it that way, it creates a natural rhythm of setup, conflict, resolution, setup, conflict, resolution. And chapters and scenes should also have that kind of thing. And that's why every scene should technically have a conflict. What do we got here? I write all day on my story on Saturdays. I take 2 buses to get to work. I work on it. Wow. Well, that's awesome that you work at the Air Force Base. Spionk. Very cool though that you find the time. Like I said, it's hard to find any time. So just the fact that you're able to do any time is good time. All right, the ship is damaged. Okay. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm actually going to put this note right here, because this is actually a plot of PP4, because this is a long. Why is it PP4, Tom? I said PP. The reason is because if we look at this, the protagonist reacts to and reflects on the long-term impacts of the inciting incident. So this is more of a reflection of, and not necessarily an immediate reaction. So this is, the ship is damaged. So we're going to say, we'll get to that. All right. And all this is good. We did all that. Look at that. We did chapter 3. We added some stuff. All right. Now, here we go. Boop, boop. This is going to be 4 and 4. Chapter 4. Chapter 4. Again, if anyone has any questions about what I'm doing, I'm happy to answer. All right. See how now we're in section 2. So where I was talking about is section 1. All right, is all about the ordinary world, and plot point 1 sets up that ordinary world. Plot point 2 disrupts or conflicts that ordinary world, and then there's a resolution to that conflicted ordinary world being disrupted. And then we move into section 2, which is where we are now. And now they live within the disruptive this is a disruptive world for them. All right, so this is ultimately this is like the midpoint. Right, the conflicted midpoint of Act 1, and this gets 4 beats. But right now we're only working on plot point 4. Oh, actually, before I do this, I'm a numbers guy, so let's put the numbers in. Let's put the numbers in. What do we got? 485. Nice. Okay. Chapter 3. I don't have names for the chapters yet, but I will. I will eventually have chapter names. I love chapter names. I'm a chapter name freak. All right, here we go. So this is hyperspace. Okay. Fix the hulls out of hyperspace. All right. So this is just for me. The audience will never see these things, but this helps me know what the theme of the of that scene is. The theme of this is they're in hyperspace. The theme of this is they have to fix the hull, and the theme of this is they come out of hyperspace. I've just reached 24,000 words today, so wow! Everybody, please take a moment and let's scream out and succeed and elevate Flower's accomplishment. 24,000 words today. She has finally reached 24,000 words. Wow. Congratulations. That is a massive accomplishment. I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of you. I think vows. And well, you should. Well, you should. That's an amazing you've reached what we would call a milestone. So wonderful work there. Wonderful work. You are so lovely in your skill. 211. 211. All right. So 211 for my notes. That's the next one. Next scene was, but seriously, that is really awesome. Really awesome. And then, of course, hyperspace. We have gotten out of the hyperspace. 117. What am I doing? I like to keep track of everything. I'm always keeping track of my numbers. As you can see right now, I'm at. Oh, wait. What I should do is this. Boo, 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 boo. 246. All right. All right. There we go. There we go. And technically, one second. Uno momento, por favor. Or if it's Italiano, por favore. All right. So I am here. I'm also, I should do this here. I'm technically here because I'm on the zero draft. Technically. Am I? Am I on the zero draft? Well, I'm on the extended draft. That's all right. That's all right. Okay. Well, if that's the case, whatever. All right. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'm getting ahead of myself. All right. Let's do it. Tell me how. Tell me why. Oh, what do we got? We might all be. Oh wait, it might all be dry. Drivel. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on today. The drivel. Listen, it's expected to be drivel. You know, it's your first. What you call it? Your first draft, right? So if it's your first draft, that's the other thing as writers, we have to get the idea that it has to be perfect as we type out of our heads because the writing process is indeed that a process that's going to take time. And ultimately, this is how I look at it. If it takes you 5 years to write the book and you've done all this editing and everything, and the book is now still drivel, yeah, all right, we get it. Okay, throw it out, start over. But when you're starting on the process, like even this is imagine this was you read this in the page. This is drivel. This is, who cares? It doesn't even it's not coherent. It has plot progression, but it doesn't really have there's no immersion or anything. And look at here, I should show you the screen. All right, so this is drivel technically. But it's going to slowly but surely turn into prose, and the prose are going to turn into refinement, and the refinement's going to turn into editing, and the editing is going to turn, one thing at a time. And the fact that you got 24,000 words out is not only an amazing start, but it's an accomplishment that takes consistency, and that's the victory I think you should look at, not the drivel element. I don't think in the last 10 years of my career, the last 10 years of my career that I've worked in, I've ever looked at the first draft and said, you know what? Of course, this is perfect. I used to have that mentality way back in the day. This is perfect. People, especially when it came to music, they were like, you have to fix this. And I'm like, what? But it's exactly what I wrote. And in reality, we can't live by that strong, stoned mentality. We have to say to ourselves, everything needs some adjustment. That's right. That's what we do here. We laugh it up. All right, let's see. Okay, now I got to add all this here. So let's see what the scenes would be. Laura continues working on the ship. Diagnostics. Well, the gang is talking about everything. Laura continues to work on the ship doing okay. Well, we could probably make this one scene. All right. Okay. So let's bring this note in first. All right. Laura continues working on the ship, doing diagnosis while the gang is talking about everything. Laura keeps to herself, trying to be small while the gang deals with their situation in the background. She continues to click the buttons needed to make sure the ship is working enough to get them to the next planet, which brings us to this little thing. Love interest comes over, asking how the ship is. All right. Laura says that the ship is damaged, but they're far from a planet and have to figure out how to get to the closest place where the authorities might not be able to track them. So that's important, right? That's important. What am I doing? Why is that note there? That's a great question, right? So couple things I'm setting up. First, we know that they know that there's no way they're not going to continue to track them to come after them, right? We put them in a situation where the ship is damaged, and it's I'll even say the ship is damaged but functional, not for long distance now, right? So that means they could basically like poot a potter somewhere, right? So we put them in a situation where there are problems that now we get to see how characters solve it. And remember, somebody asked a really great question yesterday about like what makes a good story and stuff like that. And I said character, and I was talking about positions, motivations, and basically opportunities to make choices. So when I look at scenes, I'm always looking at areas where instead of telling the audience something or expository, like just exposition heavy stuff, where can I have opportunities to show characters responding to situations, to have to make choices, be it are they freaking out because of something? Are they keeping a cool head? Are they making choices to fix things? Are they adapting? And by the way, even if they do adapt or make the quote unquote right choice, is it the right choice for the next step, or is it just the right choice for them? Like they feel like this is the right choice and it works for them, because that's also character developing. And that's what really pulls a story, not necessarily the plot, but pulls the story along. And I say that because on this channel, we say that a narrative is made of plot and story. Plot is what needs to happen no matter what, which is what I'm writing on the screen. And story is how it unfolds through the emotional choices and experiences of the character, or more importantly, emotional experience and choices of the character, right? And that would come through in the long form narrative. That's when we're like writing, where I'm creating prose. But a lot of that motivation and position start here. So I'm creating an opportunity with the ship is still damaged, but it's functional. But they're in a situation where they need to find a planet so they can figure out how to fix it. But they also have the authorities still coming after. Plus, Laura's in a situation with the gang, right? So her life feels in danger, but we as a reader, well, this person right here has been really nice to her. So maybe, and also we've seen him have agency and actively step in and sort of quote unquote protect her from the gang leader. We know this world isn't safe because one person already died, right? So we're setting up opportunities to challenge these situations. We are creating moments for the reader to be like, well, what's going to happen now, right? So instead of it just kind of working out, like they could have just fixed the ship and they could have just found the planet where they have to go to, we're creating obstacles. And just from this little bit right there, that's basically why I did that. That's what my brain was thinking, and that's what came out to kind of justify that. So it's always important to do that when you're working on a scene or a chapter. Yes, you want to move the narrative forward, the plot forward in every chapter a little bit. You also want to move the arcs of your characters forward a little bit in every chapter. It could be a lot too, it could be a lot. But you always want to allow chapters to create opportunities for that character growth through choices, not well, this needs to happen. Like if things are just happening because you need them to happen, then it starts becoming monotonous and boring. But our cause and effect is they got hijacked. The authorities shot at the ship. They had to fix the ship, but while they were trying to fix the ship, something happened in this plot point right here, and we had a little danger, and one of the people died. All right, so now they're in a situation where that actually damaged the ship, right? And we could even write that here. The ship was damaged on the inside now, and some other elements. Okay, making it more of a hardly surviving situation for the ship. All right. What's going on here? Stop, computer, stop. All right. By the way, if you notice, I can't spell, and making it more of a surviving situation. But all great writers have great editors, and all great writing is rewriting. So remember that when you feel a little down about your situation and you're like, I can't write. And it's like, well, writing isn't really getting the first line out. It's working that line and cleaning that line and editing that line. When I look at like my prologue to the first fantasy book in the Maven War saga, and I look at the extended outline, then the zero draft, and then the first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Well, I did 4 drafts altogether, but when I look at each one, I can see the refinement. And when I compare the 4th draft of the prologue to, say, a first draft of chapter 7 or 8, you can see my author's voice there, but you could also see the lack of polish, even though there is a sense of polishing from the extended to the zero to the first draft. But at the same time, us as writers, we occasionally get stuck in our heads because, we're artists, and, we're our worst critic, right? We always hear that. And one of the keys to being a professional writer is we have to shut that voice up, especially when you get hired or somebody's, like, especially when I worked in the industry and I had to write a screenplay. Like, I had to have the confidence that I knew what I was doing, and I had to shut those voices up and just start focusing on steps and not really going, well, this doesn't look great. Of course it doesn't. I just wrote it. I just sat here for an hour. There's no way an hour is going to be the greatest. Even Quentin Tarantino says, he writes basically up to the middle of his story, and then he throws it out and starts over because he just found the characters' voices. But he might write something that he threw out that might to us be a masterpiece. I'm not saying I'm a huge Quentin Tarantino. I'm just using him as an example and what he said in an interview. But like, even he was like, I had to discover the voice of what I knew I was doing and start over. I'm not saying to start over, but we're all artists are like that. We have that, like, we have to discover what it is we're trying to tell in the story and find our voice. And there's just so much to the process that to even look at the first 3 drafts as a reflection of your skill, craftsmanship, and quality would almost be insensitive to the reality. You know, it's devaluing something before seeing the refinement, and that's something to keep in mind when being a writer. All right. Okay, so the love interest comes over, asks how the ship is. Laura says the ship is damaged, so we have that part, right? So continues working on it. We have that. Boop. Okay, yeah, we need this little part. The gang talks about the heist, where they're at in the plan, and what needs to happen next. Heist. I can't spell. How do you spell heist? Heist. Oh, I got it. I got it. I got it. No judgment. All right. Okay, she continued. Okay. The gang talks about the heist, where they're at with the plan, and what needs to happen next. Something about the buyer. All right. And see, by the way, I'm also building on the heist and the gang's motivations, because that wasn't really explored or in the short form outline, right? So that's the other thing. When you're doing a little bit at a time and you're just adding a little at a time, like I don't need to know what it is. I'm coming up with, we need that sort of information, something about the buyer, right? And that's going to add more to the story and more to the world building, right? But I don't, if I spent 3 hours trying, what is it going to be? Like, I'm not moving forward. I'm not keeping the momentum going. And this detail, as important as it is, isn't important to figure out now, but it will be. And slowly but surely, I'll get there. They're speaking in their gang language, the language of their species. All right. Laura actually has her translator in her ear, having the excuse that she needs it to speak with the ship. Okay. That's my alien voice. I know, I hate me too. All right. Okay. And it keeps breaking up. So she's missing details, but getting the gist. Is it gist? As she plays with the translator to get it to work clearly. Because it's cheap and crappy. I love cheap and crappy. Gist. It's the gist of it. It's the gist of it. How's everyone doing out there? Huh? Any questions? Any thoughts? Any ideas? You like what's going on? What are you learning? Maybe I'll give it the floor to. What do you learn? In a little bit, I'm going to give the floor to everybody 4 questions, by the way. So we got maybe like 6 minutes before I give the floor to the audience. And then if you have questions about writing in general, maybe your writing or process or what we have done today, start thinking about some questions now, and know that you could ask them. I'll be happy to answer them. Look at that, though. We're doing chapter 4, though. So we took care of this. Boop, boop. Develop the okay. He notices her. Oh yeah, I need this. Boop. Because he notices her listening in. All right. Yes, if she understood what they are saying, what he says it in the language, and she says, "No, I have no idea." Yeah, I like that. I like that little note. We're gonna keep that there. All right. He asks more about the ship. Laura says, all right. Seed what they stole. He has a secondary buyer. Okay. I'm actually going to bring this up a little bit to chapter 3. So it's here for myself. For myself. Oh, yeah. For myself. We like to sing on this channel. Yes, we do. All right, where are we? Bloop. This is important. Important. All right. Okay. The love interest says, asks her if she needs anything from the back area. And she says, yes, I could use a something here. All right. So there's another example of like, I don't know what I want to be there, but I want him to try to convince her or use it as like a reason to go into the back because remember, he has to hide something. So there we go. All right. That's a nice little nod there. Later in this, we already know that. This is going to be this part right here. The speaking of the, talk about the heist. Something about the buyer and boop. Okay, and I gotta seed what they stole. Seed what they stole and who. When I say seed, for anyone who doesn't know, that I use that word to just be like I'm seeding information. I'm not foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is alluding to something or the potential of something. Seeding is just how you take exposition and then you break it up into smaller digestible bits and you just kind of seed them into moments and scenes. So instead of explaining in great detail what they stole, we could just kind of allude to some ideas, maybe keep it vague but informative. That's important. Both those words are important in that statement. Vague but informative. Vagueness to have questions remaining for the reader, and informative enough to allow them to feel like they're learning something. And by they, I mean the reader. And that keeps them invested because, obviously, the more you learn about something, the less invested you become, unless it's an emotional investment, which the emotional investment forms through the vague but informative seeding and unraveling, as one might say. All right. Okay. Laura tells him that she's not paid off the ship yet and still owes money on it. Boop. The products need to get where they're going or I'm going to lose the account. I could actually put this here. There. Yes, more about the ship. if it'll make it to the next stop for her to deliver her products. Okay. Laura says that the ship is damaged, is still damaged from the event of the air situation. Functional. Okay. Ooh, what do we got? It's very satisfying to see tidying up and expanding and deleting of the old stuff. Do you feel good about shredding too? I do. The thing that I will say this, I'm not technically deleting anything because I leave it in the other file. Because one of the rules, I think I've said this a few times, is I don't delete things because you never know. I might, strike it out. Like I'll put a line through it. But I know what you're saying here, where I'm like transferring information and slowly deleting it and installing it in it. I do like that. I will, as the process goes on, you'll notice that I might take things out of the equation. So I'm comfortable with that. As long I'm very malleable to the growth of the story and the narrative in general, based on the needs of what the character's choices are. Because I even though I'm outlining, that's another fear people have. They're like, oh, I outline, I'm rigid. I can't change anything. It's like, nah, I can. Like, I'm okay with that because at the end of the day, as you start learning and discovering who the characters are, they're going to start making more aggressive choices, they're going to have more agency. So I'm going to be forced to shred things and eliminate stuff and maybe add stuff that I never thought of originally. Because, the other thing is sometimes I'll get to a situation where my brain is just like in a weird mood. And while I'm sort of really mapping out a chapter in the zero draft or even the first and second draft, I'll just put a character in a situation where they make just a really crazy move within their voice. And it just brings the scene alive because it no longer feels like the scene is moving through its needs. And now it's moving through the behavior of characters. So I've always liked that. I've been hearing that I have to find my character's voice as I write. How does this work? So a character's voice is defined by several things, and I talked about this in another video, but it's ultimately their positions, the things they believe in. All right. So their stances on things. Do they believe in faith? Do they have no faith? Do they like the Jets or the Giants? Do they, whatever the case? Those are positions. Part of those positions lend to how they react to that information. So if I'm an extreme Giants fan and somebody says the Giants suck, my reaction, because I'm one of those paint my face, go to every game Giants fan, I'm going to defend the Giants because you're insulting me, right? But if I'm just somebody who likes the Giants because my family are Giants fans and someone's like, the Giants suck, and you're like, hey, it's all about whatever team you like. Like, that creates part of the voice. The second thing is their motivations. What are they trying to accomplish in life? What are their goals? Where do they want to see themselves? Either within the narrative you're writing and outside the narrative. Because remember, the characters had a life before that narrative, and they're going to have a life after that narrative. And sometimes their motivations can be from where they came from before the narrative and where they want to go afterwards. Like, for example, I want to be an astronaut. That might be a character motivation. But the narrative is about them maybe getting into college. But getting into college and getting their degree means that they will eventually one day be astronauts. But the narrative isn't necessarily about them becoming an astronaut. So that motivation will also drive the dialogue, just as the positions will drive the dialogue. It'll drive the behavior. How? Well, if I want to become an astronaut and I know I need to go to college and I got to get a degree, what am I going to do? Well, how serious am I with those motivations? If I'm super serious, I'm going to study a lot. I'm not going to go out to partying. I'm not going to hang out with people, which will change how they behave towards you. And then, of course, the other thing is your choices. Character choices are they define the dialogue and the dialogue and the behavior. It's what they say and don't say, what they do and don't do. So if you can understand what their positions are, you can understand what their desires and motivations are, and you can understand how they're going to make choices based on the situations you present them with, that will create their definitive voice. That's ultimately what that is about. Because if you don't know those things, you can't make choices for them. You can't write, like some writers, they'll write, I have no need for this car, right? And then the next character might be like, but the car is so nice. You should keep it. You should keep it. Right? This isn't. There's no voice here, but there are technically two positions. One is I have no need for this car. That's a position, and one is the car is nice. You should keep it. Right? But the voice doesn't exist because we don't know other things. We don't know like what is going on here, right? But if my scene is I need him to get rid of the car, so we'll just have him, and I need conflict, so we'll just have somebody be like, "You don't need a car," and then it's like, "You're right, but what am I going to do with this car?" Right? I'm talking, and I realize it's not even on the screen. I apologize. So again, if I have a character say, I have no need for this car, and then the other one's, but the car is so nice, you should keep it. And then finally they're like, you're right, but what am I going to do with this car anyway? Right. And that's really there's no voice there. But if let's say I put a little bit of thought into it going, this character the positions are fine, but now we got to add the other things. We got to add the motivations and stuff. So maybe it's just like they don't want to spend the money on it anymore. It's an expense. They live in the city, right? Really what they want to do is they want to save money. That's their motivation. Theirs is they're using this person for their car. So their motivation is they can't afford a car themselves, but they want their friend to have a car so they can keep the car, right? And then so what does that do? Well, we don't really talk in direct statements as people. So how I would probably approach it is now um, I know their voice a little bit. So uh, it'd be like he slammed the car door, kicking the tire. You know, what's wrong? What's wrong, buddy? Right? Whatever. And now the guy goes, fucking this car, my stupid bill. Right? Do you want it? Me? No, I can't afford a nice car like this. Like this. All right. So right away, what did I just do? So this guy's manipulating him. I can't afford a nice car. Right? I can't afford a nice car like this. Right? I can't afford a nice car like this. So because his motivation is he can't afford a car in reality, but he wants this guy to keep the car because he's using his friend to I don't know why I'm doing this. To ultimately drive him around, right? So he slammed the car, kicking the tire. What? Right? And then his friend is like, "What's wrong, buddy?" And he goes, "This fucking car and my stupid bill. Do you want it?" Right? Like he changes the subject. Like he's like, "Oh yeah, I could just sell it to you because you don't have a car, right?" Because that was the motivation, right? And then he's like, "Me? Oh no, I can't afford a nice car like this." And now I'm building on their characters and their voice because one is trying to manipulate the other into keeping the car, which becomes behavior and choice. And the other one's trying to get rid of the car, but is not necessarily catching on to the manipulation. And that's how you really discover a character's voice. And that just took me 2 seconds to kind of just give them a quick motivation, give them a quick position as an example. And that's really that's what writing is, the foundation of it. All right, so let me put this thing. The gang leader wants to be dropped. All right. Look at that. We did 2 chapters today. Let's see. The gang leader wants to be dropped off. It says they don't really have a choice on where to be dropped off at this point. All right. Okay. Okay. Now, I'm going to add one note before I stop, just so I know where to start again. and that is Laura Olivia checks the computer to establish the next potential landing location. So work on this beat. All right. There we go. Hey, what's up, man? I missed you last week, unless you were here, but you weren't talking. But I didn't see you last week. But welcome. Cheers. You just showed up at the right time. We're on the questions. I'm gonna give the floor to the audience now, but let me kind of go over what I did, and then if you have questions out there, just put them in the comment section. I'll answer them in a second, but I'm just gonna explain. Wasn't, but I'm glad that I am today. I'm glad you're here too, man. I really appreciate the support and the love. And by the way, anyone who's watching, follow his channel. He's got some great stuff on there. All right. So real quick, we did an extended outline, not a zero drift, but an extended outline on chapter 3 and chapter 4. We didn't finish 4. I still want to work on this last bit or scene bit, right? So we can get those beats out. And then we'll be on to 5. I think we're kind of flying through this. Let's see. 5 is going to be the protagonist decides to take action, which is they head to the planet. And then, okay. So let's see. And they will make a choice on the planet to land on. And just for the record, what this does is this resolves the situation. They have enough ability to get the ship to the next planet. They have a planet to go to. It's not going to be the planet they want. So let's make that comment. It is not the planet the gang would have liked to land on, but it is good enough. All right, so I'm going to work on that scene next Sunday, but that keeps the narrative moving forward. So the plot keeps going, and then we get to see how the characters will react to that plot. And then chapter 5 will be the ship is going to the planet, and it crashes a ship, and the gang leaves her, and they are going to kill her, but then the love interest is like, yo, don't. And so we get to see that chapter. We get to kind of build that chapter and the beats to that chapter next. So that should be exciting. What else we got? What else? We did that. All right. Okay. All right. The floor is yours, everybody. You have questions about what we did today, what I'm working on. If you have questions about the 27 plot outline, if you have questions about your own writing, feel free. This is where I give the floor to all of you. And remember, if anyone's out there, there is a free resource link. You don't have to sign up for anything. You could just click on that, and it'll take you right to the folders, and it's all available for free. Ooh, what do we got here? How many hours of watch time do you have? Ooh, that's a great question. Let's see. I'm checking it. I'm not just singing. That is my doing something. Well, needing music. All right, what do we got? Last 24 hours, the last 365 days. It says here, I have 3,721 watch hours. I basically need 350 watch hours. I think I actually have a little bit more than that once tomorrow comes because of the earn spot. Yeah, because it says I need, yeah. What does this say? 4,000 minus. I need 274 watch hours. I think I could do it in the next month or two. I think I can. We'll see. We'll see what happens. What do we got? Hey, I'm currently having you on play on laptop when I'm watching TV. I won't like a video unless I've actually watched it, so I know which ones to go back to. Oh, wow. That's awesome. That is awesome. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that kind of love and support. I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. I feel like I should give you candy or something. just, just that kind of love and support means a lot to me. You know. So you are on mute, talking away all day. Listen, that's how I feel normally. Like I'm on mute, talking all day, just trying to get words out. Just trying to get words out. I don't know. It's funny though. All right. I think we had fun today. I think we got a lot done in an hour. I mapped out two extended draft versions. So we're doing good. You'll need plenty of Pepsi. I really do. I'm trying to actually cut down on it, but I try to do like cold cut days where I don't drink any. I just drink water, and then like I just get these massive headaches, because caffeine, and then my neck hurts, my back, and then as soon as I drink one, I'm like, oh, I feel good. So it's better than heroin, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't know, but I've been told. All right. Again, if anyone has any questions about writing, please feel free to. Sparkling water has been my drink lately. I tried the sparkling water and like the flavored sparkling water, and I don't think it's. Oh, I don't know what just happened there. I don't think it's the fizz or the fuzz that is the thing that I help, but sparkling water is tasty though. Get some good stuff out of that. Is there a flavor you like, or you just like the water itself? I have squash and carbonated water. Oh, there you go. There you go. Speaking of squash, have you ever had a squash macaroni and cheese? Like like it's just a squash. Like I don't know what to call it. Anyway, squash is so tasty. I'm just gonna put that out there. Squash. I like the bubbles. Michael Jackson used to say that. He liked bubbles. He really liked bubbles, his chimpanzee. I like bubbles too, but not in the same way. But bubbles, they get in the nose, right? They like writing advice. Is that is right. The bubbles and the carbonation, that's what we need as well. Let's look at the poll and see who's written, who hasn't. We got 8 votes. Looks like the majority voted for yes, they did. And then 38% so far. It's good to write a little bit a day. Like I said, I try to do anywhere from an hour to 2 hours every day at night. I'm a nighttime writer. I write 7 o'clock starts my block, but I do have writing blocks during the day for client stuff, and I don't do more than an hour on a client. I try not to kill myself with that stuff. Yes, I've had stuffed pasta with butternut squash, and oh yes, it was lovely, right? Just the ideas, but yeah, the amaretto. Yeah, the combination sounds like, what are you doing? But then you put it in your mouth, and it's like, why didn't I do this earlier? Pop soda has so much sugar, and sometimes you have to be honest with what you like about it before you can make changes. I used to love sugar like that, but I found out that carbonation is my vice. Yeah, the carbonate, I get that. I get that as the way it kind of like goes through the body and feels in the body. I'm not a fit. I'll be honest. I don't want to drink it. I just don't want the pain, because I have the after my cancer surgery and all that stuff. I like live with some pain, and I don't want to take I take Tylenol, but I don't want, because of the operation, I can't take certain pain meds because my body can't filter it or something like that. So I try resources. And I don't want to smoke the weed. Not that there's anything wrong with the weed, but what do you drink? Bubbly. Ooh, apple and lime flavor, a great. Is it real apple in there, or is it just apple flavoring? Because I would totally drink the bubbly apple. Give me some of that bubbly apple. Get some more sip in here. All right, everyone. What do we got? An hour and 20 minutes in. So there has to be some writers on this stream right now. So if you have any questions about writing, for your own writing in general, the process of writing, character work, whatever it is. If you have questions about what we did today, feel free, please. I would love to answer those questions. I think it's natural flavor. Oh, yeah. Natural flavor. Where they use magic science and chemistry to make the flavor happen. Anywho, let's see what we got going on today. Let's see. Let's look at the I've been doing good with the numbers, by the way, Flowers. I've been looking at the numbers in general. February, I'm at 290 watch hours this month. Last year, same month, same time. Let's see what that was. Just for anyone who cares. Last year, same time, I had 178 watch hours. So I'm definitely every month and every year I'm getting bigger and bigger, and so I'm pretty excited about the fan base and all the support and love. It means more than I can even. And I'm a writer, and I have no words for it. What do you write with each chapter being a separate document? Oh, why? Sorry. First, I'm like, what? Why do you write with each chapter being a separate document? Couple of reasons. One, cause and effect. The first is I have in the past maybe lost entire manuscripts to technology, and so that's one level of defense, that if I lose a chapter, it's not that bad. I also have multiple versions of the chapters, and I do save PDFs and save things on different devices and whatever I can. And I'm also addicted to the Control S function. I learned that the hard way too. So the first reason, and probably the most important reason, is safety. But the second reason is because it allows me to sort of just open that file up and just focus on one thing at a time. Because again, remember, I don't like to overwhelm myself. So I've just created devices and methods to keep me focused on step by step, because if it's all one doc, the page breaks sort stuff out. That's true, it does. But when I format my books, I use the Adobe InDesign. So it's actually with Adobe InDesign, you format each chapter separately, and then you upload all those chapters into a main document, and then you basically set up the last couple of things. So, let's see. Get your specs on. Yeah. Can't go wrong with specs. It was painful the third or fourth time. Before I was like, never again. Suggestion: add some real juice to the sparkling water. Another one you must try is fresh lemon and Sprite 7-Up. Incredible. Now back to our televised network. By the way, lemon and Sprite or 7-Up. Excellent. I used to write as separate chapters, but have recently changed. There's nothing wrong with it. It's all just preference and stuff. I don't know if you're writing in Google Docs, Word, or there's another one that they use. What is Sevra, or what is it called? The writing programs. Scrivener. Word, Google, and Scrivener in one document also does the header separation, so you could use that as a breakup too. So that's always nice. I've used Atticus with these two, Atticus and Word. Yeah, those are good programs. I just, again, I like to be as protected as possible. Can you share your advice and insight on how you tackle prologues? No. Yes, of course. All right. So I have two ways I approach prologues. The first is it's a short story that is connected through a separate strand to the main narrative. And what that means is if I took the prologue out of the picture, I can still write the main book without the prologue, but with the prologue, it adds substance and depth, and also ultimately leads back to a revelation, right? So I like that with the whatchamacallit, the short story element. The other thing I do uh, with the prologue is the goal is that the prologue should not feel like chapter one. It should be separate, even if it's just sort of like, I don't know, 1,000 words, right? It should feel separate. It should feel almost like an interlude, also. You could do that. So, where it's not directly influencing the main narrative. And I think that's one of the big mistakes with prologues is if they make it directly connected to the main narrative, and it ultimately functions as chapter zero. So the way I tackle the prologue is I go in saying to myself, how do I create theme, tone, and add my character's voice, my author's voice, in training the reader to move forward with this book. So the prologue is acting as sort of like a maitre d', like welcome to this world. Here is some themes and some tone and some feel, right? Like for example, the prologue in my fantasy book, the first prologue, is very it cuts through three different themes and tones through the flow of the narrative. And if you read the book, it also does that. So that's how you should use your prologue. That's my insight for a prologue. That's really its goal. What do we boop? We booping the boop the beardy snoot people. Yeah, please like, comment, and subscribe. I wrote my prologue last for is that Immortal Blood? Yeah, that's also a good way to approach it. That'll definitely keep you from making it chapter zero. But also, like, a nice thing about a prologue is you can make it about a character that is not necessarily in the book, or they're a character that is in the book, but they're not necessarily prime. There's a really fun book. I think I talked about it yesterday. Lord Soth. It's just called Lord Soth. And the prologue, spoiler alert, is it's about this knight, this rose knight, and they're going around and they put people to sleep forever. They put two characters specifically to sleep, and then they show up to like a hut, and in the hut is the father and son sitting there, and one of the son is Lord Soth, and the father of Lord Soth is there, and he goes, "Did you take care of it?" And they go, "Yes." And then Soth goes to the father and says, "If you weren't so promiscuous, we wouldn't have had to done any of this." And like that's the prologue, but it sets up the theme and tone of the sins of the father, the sins of the son, which is part of the theme in the book. It talks about legacy. It talks, it's the book is not going to be kind or loving. It's going to be a dark exploration. But Lord Soth is technically a very evil person. He becomes the Black Knight of the Black Rose. Yeah, he becomes a Black Rose Knight in Ravenloft and all these other horrible things. Yeah, very nasty. He's one of my favorite characters of the Dragonlance kind of world, but at the same time, he's not a nice guy. So would it make sense that the prologue has threads to the main story, but resolve in an epilogue so it doesn't interrupt the flow of the story? You can absolutely do that. Yeah, if you use the epilogue again, the epilogue. Here's another thing: an epilogue should be something that is either set way after the closing events of your narrative, or completely separate from it. But both the prologue and the epilogue do have to have something connected to the main narrative in the sense of theme or tone or what is the ultimate message. Like, you don't want it to just imagine the book is all about fighting dragons and being connected to dragons and legacy and all these things, and then like the epilogue is about they're in the future and they're flying spaceships. Like, so the epilogue has to definitely connect. But using the epilogue sort of to finish whatever happened in the prologue, that works too. But you don't want the prologue and epilogue to be so separate from the main narrative that you have to read the whole book and then you get the ending and the epilogue, because then you're really like, the reader will be like, well, why do these things exist? So they do have to sort of say something. They have to add to the conversation. That I think that's an important note too, is add to the conversation. In the fantasy, the epilogue that I have is I'm doing a bookend. So the prologue is sort of a specific character remembering what led them to what's happening in the prologue. And then the epilogue is him coming out of the memory, which technically is the book one, and them in the situation that is the coming end of the war. But what's nice is the epilogue also tells you, or at least alludes to, and creates questions like, who of the characters we just got to live with in book one didn't make it to this epilogue, which we know is the future? Which characters did? Why are certain characters not talking? Like all these things. So then you're like, oh, I know that this epilogue is technically going to be what is, near the end of book 5. So now I have 4 books to read that will lead me to this moment, and I get to see how this all unfolds and what led to all these relationships and scenarios. So in a sense, I could take the prologue and epilogue out and it could still be a complete narrative. But what I just did was I bookend the first book with the future, and now you sort of, because in the beginning you're like, what is this? And then at the end you're like, oh. What we got here? Hannah Hot. I just found out that my new company, Skookum, hires only disabled military workers, and my old company only hires people with disabilities. So I'm very worried. But if I get my story published, then you'll have a life of writing forever. First of all, that's terrible that they only hire people with disabilities. However, you could do what I do. I tell people I have a disability because I'm crazy. I'm controlled by my beard, so I don't really. I'll be doing the actual dream job of becoming an author. I think that's definitely a job that you should be dreaming about and trying to pursue and to make a reality. Being a published author, though, is sometimes out of our hands, but it is good to take the steps and ultimately find your way into the publishing world. But my best advice to live the life that I sort of live is to network, market, and practice, build relationships, cultivate those relationships, form a strong circle of influence, market your brand, not your book, your brand. Your brand is the things you care about, the things that are important to you, your missions, your morals. People connect to the brand of what people stand for before they connect with a product. If you try to have a career off of a book, it's harder because you have to put a lot of money into just in-print marketing, which is just putting something in front of a lot of people a lot of times. That's why like hit songs usually become hit songs. But also, you should also be trying to organize your money so you can create passive income and assets. Hey, what's up? Hi, do you recommend filling in a detailed character sheet to help find your character's voice, or will you find the voice as you write the story? I am not firmly against filling out a sheet. However, I personally do not fill out a sheet because I don't think I believe character is developed through the internal, not the external. So if I fill out, and to me, like their favorite color isn't interesting and doesn't really determine who a character is. So I do the other, what you're saying, the write the story. So as I'm developing the story and I'm seeing their choices and stuff like that unfold, that's how I develop my characters. So through the extended outline and through the zero draft and all these other things, I start creating scenarios. If you've been watching this episode so far, while I was doing the mapping out, I went over a piece where I was talking about placing opportunities in scenes and chapters where characters can make choices. And it's at those moments where I discover the characters the most. How they react within the long form narrative, the story part, is where I develop their true voice, because I get to see how they react to certain scenarios. And I think that's, for me, that's always been a stronger way to develop emotionally true characters. I don't think a sheet of paper, for me, is going to help me get there. Or at least it hasn't in the past. I have made out sheets for my MCs, but they are pulling away from those the more. And that's the thing, like, the sheet isn't going to allow you to see choices. And as you're writing, you'll realize that, wait, if I stick to the sheet, then the character wouldn't make a choice that seems very natural to them in this moment. So it's really good to allow the quote unquote story part of a narrative to flow through the character choices instead of going, well, again, I don't know what kind of sheets you're making, but traditionally the sheets are just like, what are their motivations? But like, you might not know what their motivation is in that moment. Like, I talk about positions a lot. I develop positions in the moment, because I have, but once I choose a position in the moment as I'm working on that chapter moment or long, that becomes their position. And then now I know that. And that becomes a character arc for me. Like, oh, they stand for this. So I create a new character arc. And now I will challenge that arc the rest of the book. Not in every scene, not in every beat, but whenever something like that comes up, I know where their stance is on that new position that was created that became interesting for that character. There's a character named Emlyn in the book, and he starts out as a very on the wall, this is who he is, right? But then, because I know where his positions are in that flat looking version of him, as the chapters progress, he starts becoming three-dimensional, and you could see, and then he opens up, and everything you thought about him or read about him previously changes now, because now you have the unfolding of the truth. And I could have never written that on a sheet, if that makes sense. Like, I had to put him in a position and then be like, well, where would he stand with this based on his culture, based on his upbringing, based on his situation, because everybody in every situation is completely different. Even if you have twins, like, the twins are perceiving the world differently, even though there are some things that are uniquely together with them. And Emlyn's circumstances in his situation have led him or eluded him or guided him or nudged him into certain choices, and I would have never found that on a sheet. Because I didn't see the environment. I didn't see him with the Naradita. I didn't see him with, which is his people. I didn't see him, experiencing having this title, the arbor, and then, like, things happening that, so everything kind of dictates the movement of a character on the page. That's my long-winded version of saying ultimately, like, character sheets. Not so much. What books have you written that you consider your Game of Thrones, and how did you handle balancing your elements, specifically with regard to characters and world building? Ooh, I love that question. Since you haven't really seen the last couple episodes, I talked about how I'm currently writing a 5-book series, and I'm not going to release one of the books until the 5 books are completed. And the reason I want to do that is because I want the audience to know that these books are done. I am not going to be George R.R. Martin and take 13 years to finish the series. The books will be done, and then I will release a book each year. I'm currently mapping out the 3rd and 4th book. I am editing the 1st book, and I am writing the 2nd book. There will be 3 5-book series in the saga, but ultimately the Maven Wars would be considered the Game of Thrones. how do I balance my elements specifically regarding characters and world building? I could actually so if we look at this, boop, 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 I have this sheet right here. And as you can see, here are characters. Characters would go here. So as a character comes on page, Thomas J. Bellezza, if he's mentioned in the chapter, I write that. If he's physically on the, I'll just write physically there, right? And then what year in the story is it? What month? What day? I have OCD. What species? I don't do races. I do species. So in my world, I have Marins, I have Valus, I have whatever. What's their study? Study is like, are they a fighter? Are they a wizard? Or whatever. The year they were born, and then the age based on where they are in this time period. Then I have their height, all this stuff, right? This all develops as I'm writing. I don't actually write any of this. This is their sexualities. You know, are they straight, gay, bi, lesbian, pansexual, or asexual? Items and notes. Then for elements, like for example, if I write, if Yarber shows up, well, that's the first new term. And then I'll write down whatever it is, you know, X, Y, Z. I'm not going to, because I don't want anyone to know right now. All right. And then see where it says inactive. I would actually write active. Okay. And I do this. Boop. Boop. And then I put a 1. So if it pops up in the prologue, and then it pops up in chapter 3, and then I put a number. So I keep track of how many times it pops up throughout. That helps me keep track of everything. And and as I build it, not only can the numbers are there so I can have it in order of appearance, but as I build more and more, I can hit this and I could do it in alphabetical order. So then I could find terms and things quickly. I could see which terms are being used a lot based on this number. And then plot points. I do the same thing. So I'll write, Emlyn. All right. Well, his full name is Guardian of Tribes. All right. I spelled that wrong. Right. And then whatever his character arc is, finding his this isn't a real arc. I just made that up. I would do the same thing. I would have, a beat of that arc showed up in this prologue, and then it showed up in here. With plots, though, I'll like, if it shows up 4 or 5 times, like it's mentioned 4 or 5 times within a chapter, I'll add it too much. And then for the big question, which is, as you put it, the Game of Thrones. So Emlyn, book 1, finding peace within. Then I would write down XYZ of whatever the total arc is going to be in this book. And I could change that as I develop the book. But I could be like, he starts off where he doesn't have peace, because this isn't all in the book. This is just me making an arbitrary example. But he could be like, I start off with he doesn't have peace among his people, and he feels distant and unheard, which leads to him finding peace in his trials, work, and becoming true to his mission. Right. And now I know that's his arc. So I know as I'm writing, I want that. But I could have a series arc too. And the series arc could be from pain to victory. Right. And then I look at this. And then here's book 2. Here's book 3. So I keep track of everything. I keep track of the gods, the species, the studies, you name it. I do it. So I hope that answers your question. That's how I keep track of everything when it comes to the Game of Thrones, stuff like that, the world building and characters. I literally, as I'm working on the books and the chapters, once I finish a chapter, I'll go back and I'll add all the details. They already got rid of 5 of my coworkers who were part-timers. That's terrible that they're doing that. I'm sorry that's going on for you. I mean, if I were you, I'd start looking for another job. Company doesn't. Oof. I'm also anti-establishment. Uh, I really have to suggest something like Novel Crafter to database everything and write your novel. Check it out. Is that the thing where like it shows like you could create like lined work and stuff? I think Novel Crafter. Oh yeah. No, that's a really great program. It organizes stuff. I would it's definitely an option for people. Um no, my buddy actually uses this. He uses it for screenwriting, believe it or not. Yeah, that's good. I've been doing it for like it's like somebody the other day was telling me to try a new program for formatting their book. I'm like, I'm 47 in April. I've already mastered Adobe InDesign. I don't have I have very limited years in my mind. Even if I have 40 years, I don't want to put that time into learning a new system. But I would love to hear your thoughts on it. In general, I like that. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. uh, I like a lot of the functionality of it. I don't like that you have to pay for it. But, I live off my I don't work a job. I live off my assets. I live off earning money on doing things here and there. I made my life that way though, so I don't have to leave the house. But it is interesting. I like it. Resources and features. One of the things I like about it actually is the organization. I think the organization is clear and the interface is really good. So that's always nice. It it is what it is. The only thing I think for anyone who's using it right off, like as new, there's a huge learning curve to it. At least my buddy definitely, he told me there's a huge learning curve for it. I'm probably going to self-publish, and I'll tell you why. I come from the music industry. I had 10 years in the music industry back in the early 2000s. I made some money, and then I retired. And then I was retired for a couple of years, and then I basically went into comedy and then acting and then directing and all these other things. So one of the big misconceptions of publishing, even the music industry, is that if I get published or if I get signed to a label, I have a career. And publishing works in the same exact way that record labels work. They sign you and they go, we're gonna basically, I'll use layman's version, but they sign you to a thing, which in this case might be a book or a record, and they go, if this does well, we'll pick up your second album or your second book, and they get 3 options usually with a first time contract. Which means if it doesn't do good the first time, they drop you. If it doesn't do good the second time, they drop you. If it doesn't do good the third time, they drop you, right? So you have 3 times. But with a book or a record label, they're going to give you money, all right? They give you upfront money. Woo, they might give you 6 figures. But let me do this. Let me do this. This is the reality of it. Let's say, by the way, a 5-figure deal, right, might be maybe $10,000. Okay, you might not get a lot. This is no offense to anyone, but first time authors aren't anybody. They have no brand. They have no say. It's supply and demand. But again, if you self-publish a book and it sells really well, they're going to come to you and be like, hey, can we license it? And they'll give you, whatever. They might give you $100,000, right? Because now you did. But let's go back. Let's say 10. Let's be really generous. You get a third, and a third. So you're going to get 3,000, 3,000, 3,000. Okay. So you get this on the sign in, right? But now you got to pay agent, which is 10%, which is $330, right? Then you got to pay taxes, which is 33%. And by the way, that's 33% of the $333,000. So that's what is that? Times 33%. $199. Right. So at the end of the day, you'll have this much money for a $10,000 deal. This is what goes in your pocket. All right. For that first payment. Okay. So you have to write at least a draft of your book, right? Or whatever the case may be. And they'll give you another $333. And then you get that much. And then at the end of the day, once the book is ready and they're ready to publish it, you get that. However, same thing with record labels. Okay. Same thing with record labels. They're going to market it. Okay. And they might put $25,000 into marketing. And your deal might be, I don't know. Let's be really friggin' generous. Let's say $2 a book. We're going to be really generous. That's really generous. That means for every sale, okay? Every single sale, $2 of every book doesn't go in your pocket. It goes towards the $25,000. So you need to sell, what is that? Okay, you ready? You need to sell 12,500 books before you even see $2, but that's not including the 10 grand. So we got to add the 10 grand into there. So really you have to do 17,000 books before you see $1, right? So when I was in the record industry, the recording industry, my mentor, who was actually the ex-president of Epic Records, and he was the guy who helped sign Michael Jackson from Motown to Atlanta and all these other things, right? He was one of my mentors. And he was like, do not get signed. He goes, it's not worth it. He goes, it's better for you to do your own sales. Because what is the big benefit of being published traditionally versus being self-published in the beginning? If you don't have a business established, right? If you haven't established a business, what you're going to end up doing is really giving away your money before you even have money. Yeah, they give you the 10 grand, but then they cover the 25,000, right? But then you're like, well, I need a PR company. Well, now that's going to be, PR is 5,000 a month times, say, 6 months to publish, to market the book. So that's what, $30,000. That's another 30 grand. I think I did that right. Yeah. So the money builds up, right? But then you're saying, Thomas, but how do I afford that? Well, that's the thing. When I was first starting in the music industry and I had all these mentors, I basically thought the same way. I was like, if I get a record deal, I won't ever have to work again, and all these other things. I'm friends with Iced Earth, and and I knew a bunch of other bands, in the industry. Iced Earth, when they went to Europe, they were selling out arenas and they were making money, right? But then if they toured America, they had to go around in a Winnebago. And each one of them had jobs. I also knew the Symphony X guys. This is a heavy metal, but I also knew, it doesn't matter. I knew a bunch of people back then, and they all had jobs. The people that didn't were like Iron Maiden and Metallica and Megadeth, right? And they all had, because they had businesses, they created businesses. And that's what my mentor taught me, is like, create a business, and then you won't need to rely on record labels. Because really what a record label and a publisher does is they give you this money. They pay for this. They don't give you the money. They pay for it so you can have opportunity, and they give you this. And you will probably not see any money by the time your first book sells, right? Sells every book it needs to make you money. But your second book comes out and they go, you know what? You did really well, kid. We're going to give you $30,000 for your next book. And that's up front. But again, you get it in shares. So you get 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. So basically it starts over again, right? And then you won't see money until you sell. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it just, and you still owe them for the other book. Anyway, so because I was successful in music and I owned businesses and I had theaters and all these other things. I'm gonna go the self-publishing route. And I'll tell you why. Let's say I start off with a subscription. Okay. And let's say I spell it correctly. All right. And I could market and get 1,000 subscribers at $5 a month. That's $5,000. And what does that do? What is the subscribers? They get one chapter a week. So that's basically $1.25. So what's 5,000 times 12? You know, do the math, right? So it's 60,000. So that means I have to put time into marketing myself and branding myself to develop 1,000 subscribers, right? Okay. That is a huge difference between American and Canadian publishing. So I completely understand your hesitation where U.S. book publishing is heavy on. Yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about Canada except for a lot of the signs in Quebec are Sud and Nord, because it's in French. And I have buddies in Canada, but yeah, the system is way different, I'm sure. But hey Emma, what's up? How's it going? Hola, ¿cómo estás? Oh, I think I may delve into Excel tomorrow. Let me know how that goes, Flower. Let me know if you like the Excel. So, hey, ciao, Thomas. Hello, how are you? Salva. All right. Un caffè con latte, por favore. No con zucchio. All right. Anyway, I just ordered coffee with milk, no sugar. So what am I saying? I'm saying that if I put time and money into developing 1,000 subscribers, I would end up with 60,000 a year. They would end up, but then you're like, but how long would one book go? Well, if let's say 72 chapters, there you go. That's what is that? That's a year and 20 weeks. There you go. So one book will cover me for a year and 20 weeks. And that's how you should be looking at it, because this 1,000 could one day turn into 10,000 subscribers and so forth, right? And now you're in control of not only the money coming in, but how it comes in. You're in control of your brand. Canadian publishing is all funded by the government, and they give much smaller advances, but you don't owe them for any loss in sales, and therefore no loss on publishing authors, even with I'm going to move to Canada. That's a really great system, and I think that's really good. Yeah, they don't do that in the States. I'll tell you that much. It's definitely not like that in the States. Emma, you're from the across the pond, and so is Flowers. But Emma, you're in the you are published as an author. Is it is the publishing in England the same as he's saying where Boogie's saying in Canada, or is it more like the States where like they take a chunk? Where it's like this, where it's like you get a third. You got to pay your agent 10%. You got to pay 33% in taxes. You know, I would really love to know that insight. But for anyone out there who is an author or aspiring author, you're not really supposed to market your book. Technically, you're supposed to market your brand and you as an author, so you can develop this kind of fan base, because that becomes the demand. If you have the demand, then you can supply it. And if $5 a month gets them a chapter a week, which is 4 to 5 chapters a month, you're supplying that demand, their interest. And that's how I made money in the music industry. I had a demand for people wanting me to tour with them or be on an album or show them how to write a song or how to create lyrics or whatever the case may be. And I made more money because of that demand of building and cultivating relationships than I did going, please listen to my music and buy it, right? But if I may, some people out there might be going, Thomas, I don't have money to market or do that stuff. This is what I did. Ready? I'm going to give you some insight to behind the scenes. I should 18 months startup capital. My mentor told me that I need to not work a job and I need to focus on getting involved with my community and my industry. So I saved up 18 months of startup capital. I basically organized my overhead into whatever it was, which came out to about $3,000 a month or whatever it was. And if you divide that by 18, that's $54,000, right? So that's what I did. I worked I worked 3 jobs and I saved this up. Once I saved up $54,000, I quit all 3 jobs and I focused on the industry. And that led me to build so many relationships. I was able to volunteer my time. I was able to say yes to things. I was able to get involved for no money to some money because I knew that I had a year and a half covering me. But by the time I reached the end of the first year, I had money gigs and people were paying me and hiring me. And I used this money for everything to cover my overhead. And I also included expenses for travel, expenses for marketing, whatever the case may be. And get involved with the industry. And that changed my life right there. Those two steps changed my life forever. Last time I worked a regular job was 2005-ish. And I haven't worked. It's been 20 years since I've ever had to go to a job. And the reason is because the second step was as money came in, I organized it into security, or I should spell it right, but security, growth, and dream. What does that mean? Well, I know this has nothing to do with writing, but it does have to do with career paths. What I did was security protected me. This was money I didn't touch. This is just money that if everything failed, it was basically my startup capital being saved up. And then the growth was money I invested in. Invest in assets. And this is how I made passive income. And then basically that led me to be able to buy businesses, or if I started a theater with that, I paid my bills with it, right? So what does passive income give me? It gives me the ability to say yes and no to things. So again, I don't have a job, right? So I don't have to leave unless I say yes to some. If a client comes to me and they're like, hey, Thomas, can you work on this? I can say no to them because I don't need the money. Or better yet, I can actually charge ridiculously low rates because my mission in life is to help people. My mission in life is to care. My mission in life is to elevate others and to grow and work and grow together, right? So the passive income affords me my life, and I would have never had that if I didn't do this. And the other thing is, because I had 18 months, every dollar I did earn, I did the 60-40 split, right? 60-40 split. All right. I took 40%, okay, and I put that back into this, which is known as my financial foundation. Okay. I don't know why it's doing that. All right. And that ultimately kept fueling my overhead. Right. And then the 60% I would divide evenly into this. So it would be, 20%, 20%, 20%. Let me make this smaller. Right. So if I made $100, all right, I'll do it this way. If I made $100, I would then put $40 into the FFA, which is the financial foundation account right here, right? And then plus $60 into, or I would do, what should do 20, 20, 20, right? So what was the benefit of that is because I was able to cover myself, I knew that I could take the $40 and whatever, and I could do that, right? And then once this hit $1,000, I started investing in stocks and doing like swing trading. And then the dream, by the way, is like if I want to buy a new guitar at the time, or if I want to go on vacation, once that hits like $3,000, I now could go on vacation and it doesn't come out of my 18 months. It comes out of my other things. Anyway, so there you go. I don't know. So that's why I would rather self-publish because but what does all this have to do? Well, this overhead that you can save for, like if you have a job, you save for the cost of, and this is very important, publisher. Now that's not publishing, it's publisher, like a PR company or something. And what that does is it gets you interviews and press. And that's really, this is the secret to success when it comes to marketing, is people can see you and hear you, and you can talk about things that matter to you, your brand, instead of you go on a show and you go, buy my book. Like, that's not going to help you. But if you go on there and people believe in what you're saying and they agree or don't agree, or there's like, nuance for it, this is what helps you. So if you could save up, as long as it takes you to save up 18 months plus whatever it would cost for 3 to 6 months of a publisher. And a publisher, again, is somebody that just gets you interviews and presents. And then you do this, you might be able to do what I do. I also had a call from a book publishing company a few weeks ago, and they're going to be checking back on me to see how far I'm in my story. How far do I have to be in my story before they call me? If you're doing a nonfiction, like a self-help or like a philosophy book or something like that, you don't have to have anything written, because they'll pay you a third up front if they like the idea. So you do have to have a treatment and a concept. If they like that, that's the pitch. They'll pay you three, and three. If it is a fiction book, I have had about five friends go into a publisher based on their brand value and who they are in the industries. And they pitched an idea and they did the third, and third. I have another friend who wrote a nonfiction book, but the publisher came to them because their brand was so big. And ultimately they said, here's $300,000. We want you to write a book about X, Y, and Z because that's your area of expertise. And he's like, I don't want to write a book. And they were like, well, can you dictate the book and have someone else write it? And he says, that I could do. So, like, again, it really depends. So, Emma, they'll definitely want to know when you have a completed manuscript. Yeah. When it comes to nonfiction, if you have less brand value, they do want a complete manuscript for the fiction element. Nonfiction, not so much, but fiction, you need a complete manuscript. I was rambling. Oh, it's been 2 hours. Time is at 4:00. Oh, all right, everyone. I didn't realize I got deep into it. I love answering questions. So, let me delete all this though. Bloop. Anyway, Emma, thank you for that insight. Let's just pop that right up there for everyone to see again. Yeah, if a publisher's like, hey, you have a fantasy book or a fiction book, please make sure it is completely done. You are awesome. I'll be at the next live drop. I really appreciate that, Strike Boogie. Yeah, because right now it's about time to go to bed. Thank you for tonight. It's been great. Flowers, your support has been amazing. Every day, all the time. You're always there. And I see you share my stuff. And that means the world to me. So thank you for that. I really do mean that. How can people contact you out of YouTube? Right like this. Let me put it down for you. MakeARightLeftHere.com. Go to my website, MakeARightLeftHere.com. And there's a contact page, and you just contact me through there, and I will be able to get in touch with you through that because of the magic of the intranet. But with that, everybody involved, please know that you can subscribe. Please subscribe, hit the bell icon. It costs you nothing. Thumbs up, share the video if possible. It means the world to me. I'm getting so close to that watch hours and everything. All the time that you give to me, I can't say it enough. I love doing this. I love being able to teach and everything. So keep it going. Keep it life happening. Bye, flowers. Bye, everybody. And as always, keep developing the right mindset. I'll see you next time. Bye.